If I am being honest, I have never been a fan of Emma's Hellfire galas. While I am fully aware that fostering solid diplomatic relationships can achieve a greater good for mutant kind, I would much rather be soaring on the winds than be trapped in a crowded room full of strangers. That said, this most recent gala did have one guest who made me feel a bit more at ease. The moment he stepped through the Krakoan gateway, his energy washed over me like fresh rain cascading across the veldt. King T'Challa of Wakanda, the Black Panther, my former beloved, even though it was instantly clear that this T'Challa was from another reality, and was not the same man to whom I had given my heart so many years ago. I could not help but feel an instant connection with him nonetheless. Once the festivities were in full swing, I approached T'Challa. The look in his eyes as he gazed upon me suggested that I was not the only one who felt sparks between us, but neither of us had come to the gala in search of romance. My people had far greater concerns. On their behalf, I implored T'Challa for assistance in investigating the seeming disappearance of Arakko, Krakoa's sister nation on Mars. Without pause, T'Challa assured me that the intergalactic empire of Wakanda would do whatever it took to help locate and restore contact between the mutant colonies. When I asked him how I could ever repay his kindness, the king told me that he merely wished to have the chance to make up for previous regrets. While I had no idea what had occurred in the past, I suddenly was quite curious to discover what might happen in our future. Only a select handful of outsiders have been given access to the unique biomatter found on Krakoa. After the intergalactic empire of Wakanda forged a strong alliance with the mutant nation, the Hellfire Trading Company released a small number of samples for study in Wakanda's laboratories. Under the supervision of Princess Shuri, Wakandan scientists are examining further applications of Krakoan flora beyond its widely accepted medicinal usages. Shuri herself has taken great interest in the effects of the chronal energy absorbed by the island during the time string entanglement, which has caused the island to spawn sentient seedlings imbued with chronovium. Few realize that Krakoa isn't the only sentient landmass populated by mutants. Krakoa's sister nation, Arakko, once existed side by side with the living island before eventually finding a new home on the planet Mars. The two mutant colonies coexisted for some time, separated only by the void of space. But when the time string entanglement ripped Krakoa across the decades, transplanting it into the year 2099, the mutants of Krakoa lost communication with their counterparts on Arakko. Not even the intergalactic empire of Wakanda, with all their technological advancements, have been able to locate Arakko's current coordinates in their stellar atlas. While some flowers native to Krakoa act as advanced pharmaceuticals, others are capable of growing into interspatial gateways between distant locations. One of these flowers was planted by the mutant known as Magic in the intergalactic empire of Wakanda. Using her abilities as a sorceress, Magic altered the portal to travel between dimensions. Its destination? The netherworld, known as Limbo, where Magic rules as a queen. Now, the Black Panther frequently visits Limbo to talk with and learn from Magic, while she uses the mystical flames of her dimension to purify the stains of blood chronovium within the Wakandan king's body. When I first traveled across time through the undersea gateway that leads to Krakoa, I found myself greeted on the island shore by Magneto and his brood. What I hoped would be the beginning of a strategic alliance between our proud nations instead ended in veiled threats and rising tensions. The mutants wished to claim me as one of their people, an act of solidarity on the surface, but in doing so, they also wished to bind me to the laws of Krakoa. The fools! Namor follows no laws but his own. Upon returning to my own era, I initially ignored Magneto's warnings and began to prepare my army for a strike on the surface world. But I soon realized there were battles far more important than my assault on the air breathers. The damage caused by the time string entanglement continued to ripple across time and space, crashing like waves into the very foundations of reality. I had no choice but to join this war. But on whose side would Namor fight? The answer came to me when I was summoned to Krakoa once more, this time by the mutant telepath Emma Frost. She too attempted to entice me into an alliance with the mutants, and she was quite persuasive in her argument. I am not certain if it was her impressive skill as a negotiator, or simply her allure as a woman of great power. What can I say? Namor has a type. But Emma managed to succeed where Magneto had failed. Before the night was through, I had vowed, stand with the mutants of Krakoa, and in return, my people would be granted access to Krakoa's greatest secrets. Namor will gladly honor the deal we have struck, until someone gives me reason to do otherwise. Due to unique psychological traits that surpass both his human and Atlantean heritage, Namor has often been categorized as a mutant. Magneto and his fellow Krakoan leaders seized upon that fact in an attempt to forge a strategic alliance between the mutant nation and Namor's undersea kingdom. At first, both sides were hesitant to commit, but after some persuasion from Emma Frost, Namor eventually saw the advantage of having the combined forces of the Secret Seas and Krakoa marching behind him on the battlefield. However, history has proven that Namor's only true loyalty is to his people and to himself. Krakoa takes full advantage of its extraordinary mutant biosphere to protect itself from external threats. Both the plankton drifting off Krakoa's coastline and the pollen floating in its air act as a part of an early warning system, monitoring the waters and skies for even the slightest disturbances, and sending messages back to the island itself. If Namor wished, his vast power over the seas could easily disrupt the nation's natural defense systems, scattering these microorganisms into the turbulent ocean currents and creating blind areas that could be exploited by enemy attackers. This makes his alliance with Krakoa even more essential. Over 70% of the planet's surface is covered in water, a percentage that has begun to rise due to the unchecked actions of megacorporations like Alchemax. While man and mutant kind have long fought to protect the surface world, there are kingdoms beneath the waves that most people rarely consider. These cities of the Secret Seas include legendary civilizations such as Talokan and Atlantis. Despite the distance between them, all of these undersea realms have been united under the rule of one monarch, Namor. The millions who dwell in the depths stand ready to prove their loyalty to their king.